Welcome back to Football Daily. With England soon to kick off their latest Euros campaign, fans will be eager to forget the embarrassment of the last one, when a 2-1 loss to Iceland in the last 16 brought shame on the Three Lions. Let's take a look at the lineup on that fateful night and see what has happened to those players in the 5 years since. Goalkeeper Joe Hart. Euro 2016 was very much the beginning of the end of Joe Hart's career at the highest level. At fault for Iceland's winner on the night, the Manchester City goalkeeper had gained a reputation for costly errors, having also fumbled a Gareth Bale free kick earlier in the same tournament. The appointment of Pep Guardiola as Man City boss would mean Hart wouldn't feature in a meaningful match again at the Etihad, spending time out on loan at both Torino and West Ham. And his game remained riddled with errors, with Torino president Urbano Cairo stating, "We didn't expect so many mistakes from an England international." Despite earning 75 caps, Hart wouldn't play for the Three Lions again after 2017, not even making the 2018 World Cup squad. That summer, he ended his 12-year association with City with a permanent switch to Burnley, although over 2 years at Turf Moor, he would make just 19 Premier League appearances, acting as third choice behind Nick Pope and Tom Heaton. These days, Hart is back up to Hugo Lloris at Spurs, with his only appearances coming in cup competitions. Defender Kyle Walker. One of just 6 players to make both the Euro 2016 and Euro 2020 squads, these days we look at Kyle Walker as being one of the first names on the England team sheet. But 5 years ago, the Tottenham right-back was locked in a battle with Nathaniel Clyne for the starting spot under Roy Hodgson. And for a while it looked like that spot was going to the Liverpool man, with Clyne starting 5 of the last 6 qualifiers heading into the tournament. But 26-year-old Walker got the nod and a year later would earn himself a £50 million move to Manchester City, becoming world football's most expensive defender for little over a week. Under Pep Guardiola, Walker has become one of City's most consistent performers, having now made almost 200 appearances for the club, winning 10 trophies along the way. Famously, at the 2018 World Cup, Walker was even deployed on the right side of a back three, allowing for Kieran Trippier to play at right wing back. Now 31, he has racked up 55 caps for England and is expected to play an integral role once more this summer. Defender Gary Cahill. A latecomer to the international scene, not making his Three Lions debut until he was 25, Gary Cahill was the 4th most capped player in the squad entering Euro 2016. The England vice-captain played every minute of the tournament, having established himself as one of the Premier League's best centre-backs at Chelsea. Cahill was named as captain at Stamford Bridge following John Terry's departure in 2017 and a year later would lift the FA Cup for the Blues. But the 17-18 campaign would be his only one as a starter with the armband, appearing in just 9 matches the following season before leaving for free to Crystal Palace in 2019. Now 35, Cahill has been a regular starter for former England boss Roy Hodgson at Selhurst Park, making almost 50 appearances in his 2 seasons with the club. But as for his international career, he was nothing more than a backup at the 2018 World Cup, before telling Gareth Southgate after the tournament he no longer wanted to be considered except in an emergency. Unsurprisingly, he hasn't been reselected, finishing his time in the setup with 61 caps and 5 goals. Defender Chris Smalling. Cahill's partner at centre-back for the defeat to Iceland was Chris Smalling, and 2016 was the peak of the 27-year-old's career. An FA Cup winner with Manchester United in 2015-16, the former Fulham man started 55 matches in all competitions for the Red Devils. No other teammate featured more, as Smalling was named United's Players' Player of the Season. But his place at Euro 2016 was thrown into doubt, suffering a knee injury ahead of the tournament. But he recovered in time and went on to play every minute of England's ill-fated venture in France. Approaching prime age, he was expected to stay a part of the national setup in the coming years, but Gareth Southgate surprisingly dropped him early on in 2017-18. The England manager cited Eric Dier, Harry Maguire and John Stones as better with the ball at their feet, which Smalling publicly disputed, stating, "I'm as good a defender as anyone." Not included in the squad for the subsequent World Cup, even a brief resurgence as Smaldini whilst at Roma wasn't enough to earn a recall. Now in his 30s, it appears Smalling won't be adding to his 31 caps. Defender Danny Rose. First called up following England's embarrassing showing at the 2014 World Cup, Danny Rose didn't actually make his international debut until early 2016. Only Marcus Rashford had fewer than Rose's 4 caps among outfield players going into that summer's tournament, but given Hodgson's issues in the left-back position, the 25-year-old was handed the number 3 jersey. Tottenham's first choice for the previous 3 seasons, Rose edged out Ryan Bertrand for the starting spot, making the 11 for 3 of the 4 fixtures played at the Euros. And while he managed to make that spot his own over the next 2 years, his issues at domestic level have seen him drop out of the picture since 2019. Rose was allowed to pursue other opportunities ahead of the 2019-20 campaign, but couldn't find himself a move away from Spurs, before being frozen out of the side following Jose Mourinho's appointment in North London. He had a brief stint on loan at Newcastle in 2020 and didn't make a single appearance for the Lily Whites in the following season. This summer, he will become a free agent when he leaves the club he joined 13 years ago. Midfielder Eric Dier. The only out-and-out defensive midfielder taken to Euro 2016 by Roy Hodgson, Eric Dier was seen as crucial to England's hopes in France following an impressive season under Mauricio Pochettino at Tottenham, in which he racked up the 4th most minutes in the squad. And luckily for the England manager, he was able to stay in midfield for the 4 games of the tournament, having risked the possibility of him having to step into the back line by only naming 3 centre-backs. But despite a promising start, in which he scored a free kick against Russia and dictated play in the centre of the park in England's group games, he sorely missed Spurs partner Moussa Dembele when facing an Iceland side which pressed England more aggressively in the last 16. Then just 22, Dier's career has somewhat stagnated in the 5 years since. He remained a regular starter for Pochettino, but following Dembele's departure looked increasingly out of his depth in midfield, and has now moved back into defence full-time. Spurs' backline looks more vulnerable than it has done in years, while Dier's name was hardly even mentioned in the build-up to Euro 2020. Midfielder Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney's 5th and final international tournament with England, Euro 2016, also saw the Man United legend taken out of the forward line and moved into a midfield 3, something Red Devils manager Louis van Gaal had experimented with to decent effect at the back end of the 15-16 campaign. Hodgson's faith in the captain in this new role, however, would come back to bite him, with England's unbalanced midfield a defining factor in the loss to Iceland. Having broken Bobby Charlton's record to become England's all-time top scorer in 2015, Rooney wouldn't find the back of the net again following his futile penalty in the last 16 tie, and made just 4 more appearances for the 3 Lions before being dropped by Hodgson's successor Gareth Southgate. The final years of Rooney's career were mixed. An underwhelming return to Everton was followed by a heroic spell with DC United in the MLS, before a controversial move to Derby County saw him eventually take charge of the Rams, who he just about kept in the Championship on the final day of the 2020-21 campaign. Midfielder Dele Alli. One of 5 Spurs players to start against Iceland, Dele Alli entered Euro 2016 as England's bright young hope following a breakout campaign at White Hart Lane. The then 19-year-old ranked 2nd to Harry Kane for goals and 2nd to Christian Eriksen for assists, with his wonder strike against Crystal Palace still etched into the memory of Premier League fans today. A man of the match performance in a friendly victory over Germany that March solidified his status as a surefire pick for Roy Hodgson, and his all-action display even drew comparisons with England great Brian Robson. But despite his high work rate and creative endeavour, the teenager struggled to make a meaningful impact at the Euros, which was perhaps of little surprise given the oddly composed midfield around him. Alli would impress even more in the next 2 campaigns, hitting 18 goals in the Prem in 16-17 and scoring against Sweden in the World Cup quarter-finals, but has hardly threatened to hit those heights again. His decline in on-field performance was exacerbated by Jose Mourinho's decision to cut him from the Spurs squad entirely for a large part of the 2021 campaign, while his last England cap came in the summer of 2019. Forward Daniel Sturridge. He may have orchestrated the greatest moment of England's Euros campaign that summer, scoring the superb last-minute winner in the side's crucial group meeting with Wales, but Daniel Sturridge's career was already on a downward trajectory by the time he landed in France. He remained one of the Premier League's most deadly and technically proficient strikers on his day, netting 8 times in just 980 league minutes that season and scoring an excellent goal with the outside of his boot in Liverpool's Europa League final defeat to Sevilla. However, the persistent injury problems which followed his stellar campaign alongside Luis Suarez 2 years earlier continued to dog him. Between 2016 and 2019, he made just 18 league starts. Sturridge finally left Liverpool for Turkish side Trabzonspor in 2019, but within a year was without a club following a 4-month betting ban. At the time of recording, he remains a free agent. Forward Harry Kane. Along with Joe Hart's 18th minute blunder, the most infamous images remembered by England fans of that fateful night in Nice were those of Harry Kane stepping up to take set pieces and overhitting almost everyone. Hodgson's decision to stick him on free kicks and corners rankled with fans throughout the tournament, and against Iceland seemed to embody the side's incompetence in the final third. But luckily for England fans, Kane only went from strength to strength after that, registering 117 goals and 29 assists in 159 Premier League appearances across the 5 seasons since. He's averaged a goal involvement every 94 minutes during that time, was named England captain ahead of the 2018 World Cup, and won both the Golden Boot and Playmaker of the Season in 2021. Injuries have at times threatened his status as one of the world's very best strikers, but instead he has managed to adapt his game and become an even better all-round attacker. Whether his career will deliver the silverware it deserves remains to be seen, but he does have both Alan Shearer and Wayne Rooney's scoring records well within his sights. Forward, Raheem Sterling. He might have been the third youngest member of England's Euro 2016 squad, but Raheem Sterling had already cemented himself as an integral part of the Three Lions setup. Making his international debut as a 17-year-old in 2012, the Jamaica-born youngster sealed a big money move from Liverpool to Man City 3 years later, and entered the tournament with 23 caps to his name. Featuring in 3 of England's 4 games, Sterling has openly admitted that the championships were the toughest period of his career, as he became the scapegoat for his side's performances. Not that this has hindered him later in his career, as he's become one of the country's most versatile attackers, with 121 Premier League goal contributions under Pep since 2016. Sterling may not have hit quite the same heights for City this season, but the 3-time Premier League winner has excelled on the international stage, netting 12 goals for England since the 2018 World Cup. Now, with 61 caps and 14 goals, 26-year-old Sterling is the most experienced member of Gareth Southgate's squad at Euro 2020. Even if a starting role isn't guaranteed, he remains important to England's hopes of silverware. So that was the England team that lost to Iceland in 2016, but would you like to see us do any similar videos like this in the future? Let us know in the comments below, and if it gets enough likes, we'll do it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like, give Football Daily a subscribe if you haven't done so already, and why not click on screen right now for more FD greatness.